Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Good evening and welcome to the Reaver of Common Sense, making sense out of the senseless right here on SHR Media, Conservative Media Done Right. I am your host, and tonight we are not just covering headlines, we're exposing a pattern of coordinated political chaos. From lawmakers claiming democracy collapses if they close their eyes, to activists weaponizing CPS over ideological differences, to governors comparing American officers to Nazis on foreign soil, the hysteria isn't random, it's strategic. We're going to break down how narcissism in Congress morphs into institutional overreach. We're going to examine how bureaucracy are being turned into political weapon. We're going to look at what happened when geography gets replaced by ideology, when identity politics turns spiritual, and when outrage becomes the only governing philosophy left. And while the theatrics dominate social media, something very different is happening in the real world. Dual carrier strike groups are positioning in the Middle East. Florida schools are reintroducing consequences. Enforcement agencies are pushing back against political sabotage. The contrast could not be clearer. Performance versus policies. Tonight's show connects it all. From the ICE hearings, smoke screens, to the DHS shutdown standoff, from media incompetence at the Washington Post to organized school walkout engineered for optics. Every segment feeds into the same underlying question: who benefits from perpetual instability? Because this is not chaos. This is narrative warfare. And if they can convince you that discipline equals oppression, that enforcement equals fascism, and that consequences equal cruelty, then they reshape the battlefield before the debate even begins. That is why we slow it down. That is why we dissect it. And that is why we refuse to let emotional manipulation replace facts. So buckle up. We're going from Washington to Munich, from Aurora to Tehran, from Tampa to the halls of Congress. We're separating ego from governance and propaganda from reality. This is the Reaver of Common Sense. Let's get some work done. But before we go any further, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share the stream like your freedom depends on it, because it just might. Every click helps us punch through big tech censorship, drown out media noise, and make sure common sense has a fighting chance. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, this kind of a personal level, off of all the subjects I normally talk about, and that is, this is not sponsorship, nothing like that. I have been with my family, my wife and my daughter. We have been working out for 8 weeks now. Now, for those that don't know, I have a medical history, several medical issues that limit my mobility, injuries from my career from top to bottom. So, I gained weight, and I know I put on a shitload of weight. I get idiots that jump in the chat room and love to take pot shots at the size. I'm working out. And one of the things I found that helped, I started out doing, and I thought it was going to be a joke, but I decided to give it a shot. DDP yoga. And I started out, and I'm like, this is going to be easy. This is going to be super easy. And again, this isn't a sponsorship. I'm telling you what's happening in my real life. We started with, we're still on it. We got another week or two, chair yoga. It helps to strengthen your body from injuries, from health, and even for elderly. It helps you. There's actually a start, the way the first program starts is bed yoga. Then it goes to chair yoga. We're getting ready to go from chair to standing, where there'll be a chair there to assist, and make sure you don't fall, none of that. But besides that, we've been adding in other stuff. We've been adding in, I started in kettlebell exercises, nothing major. And let me tell you, that DDP yoga has helped me a lot. I went from having trouble walking some days, having trouble getting out of bed, to being able to move around now. We're going to start hitting the beach, try to get there on Saturday nights, down the beach at night. We're in Florida. You go during the daytime, you're going to sweat your ass off. I like going at night and walk the beach at night. We've done it a couple times. Do that a little bit more. And plus other stuff. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I still have pain, not as bad. The meds are helping, the treatments are helping, but also adding in the chair yoga has helped tremendously. And the next step is to go from chair to standing with the yoga. And then you go from there, there's steps. And it's not like DDP's always running this. One of the guys that's running the one class that we're doing is ex-military, blown out back, knee replacements, all that. So it's not what I thought it was going to be. And it's not as easy as you think. You're not doing weights. It's a lot of self-resistance and just getting mobility back, stretching, getting the rust off, getting the scar tissue out of there. So if anybody's having issues, you might want to look into that. It has been a godsend for me, at least. It has helped me tremendously. And I can't put out there how much it means to me, what he's done. But yeah, we're not a sponsor. It's just something throw out there. If you're having trouble with mobility, check out DDP yoga. It does help. It really does. I've 8 weeks now. Well, we're just starting the 8th week, I think it is. I'm down 12 pounds and I don't know how many inches already. But yeah, I started in kettlebell exercises yesterday and today. Because what we do is DDP is 4 nights out of the week. Sundays we were taking off to try to rest, but me being me, I started doing kettlebell. The kettlebell plus the house exercise we do. Planks, knee lifts, odds and ends stuff. But check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed in it. All right, everybody, let's get on to the show. We're going to start out with a segment that just the egos in Washington are just getting out of control. It's not even funny anymore. It really isn't. I mean, when you have a congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, and she's out here claiming that if she takes a nap, democracy might actually take its last breath. This is the ultimate peak of narcissism we've seen in D.C. right now. The idea that the entire republic is held together by the sheer force of her staying awake. It's a savior complex masquerading as public service. This isn't just a slip of the tongue. It is a window into the soul of the modern left. They truly believe they are the protagonists in a movie where everyone else is just a helpless extra. To suggest that a 250-year-old experiment in self-governance hinges on a single congresswoman's sleep schedule isn't just hyperbole. It's an insult to the Constitution and the millions of Americans who actually make this country run. They want you to believe the floor will fall out from underneath you the moment they stop fighting, creating a dependency that feeds their ego and justifies their overreach. I wonder, I'd love to be a fly on the wall around her and the bullshit that the people are feeding her to feed her ego. You have to have a huge goddamn ego for you to say that the democracy would fail if you went to sleep. Think about the sheer arrogance required to make that statement. While you're working a double shift or trying to figure out how to pay for groceries, these people are in Washington convinced that their existence is the only thing standing between you and total collapse. They've replaced the idea of a government of the people with a government of indispensable elites. It's a psychological tactic designed to keep the base in a state of perpetual high alert, ensuring that no one ever stops to ask if the saviors are actually the ones causing the problems. And here's what I don't understand. These congressmen, Republican, Democrat, Independent, all the parties, they act like they're elite, like they're better. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. They won a popularity contest. Nothing more, nothing less. They won a popularity contest, just like the American Idol. That's it. Doesn't make them better, doesn't make them smarter. We need more down-to-earth, everyday people running this country, not these elite people that are filled with this college sense of entitlement that they are better than everybody, simply because they have a piece of paper that they paid $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for. There's a place for education, and then there's a place that creates egos. Furthermore, this narrative perfectly sets the stage for the erosion of actual democratic norms. If democracy is so fragile that a nap can kill it, then any measure, no matter how radical or unconstitutional, becomes necessary to save it. That uses fake fragility as a blank check to bypass the rules, ignore the will of the voters, and smear anyone who disagrees with them as an existential threat. They aren't protecting the system. They are holding it hostage behind a wall of manufactured hysteria. It also reveals a deep-seated fear of a world they do not control. When Crockett says democracy will die if she sleeps, what she really means is that the progressive agenda might lose ground if the people are left to their own devices. They equate this specific political power with the survival of the nation itself. In their minds, if they aren't the ones pulling the levers, the machine is broken. That's not democracy. That's a soft-core version of a very authoritarianism they claim to be fighting against. And that's what's funny. You always hear them accusing the right and Donald Trump of doing stuff. And when you really take a look at it, that's exactly what they are doing. They are famous for accusing everybody of doing what they are doing. Finally, we'll have to look at the media that enables this instead of laughing this kind of statement out of the room. They did not along and treat it like a profound insight from a warrior on the front lines. It creates a feedback loop of delusion where the more ridiculous the claim, the more heroic the politician becomes. It's a circus where the clowns are convinced they're the ringmasters. And the audience is expected to applaud while the tent burns down around them. The truth is, the Republic is far more resilient than Jasmine Crockett's ego. It has survived wars, depressions, and actual threats to its existence. And it will certainly survive her getting 8 hours of rest. The only thing that's actually in danger when she goes to sleep is her ability to maintain a narrative of self-importance that American people are increasingly starting to see through. I'm surprised that she could walk through any door because the size of her head. It boggles my mind. It really does. The ego on her. You're not that important. Understand that. You really aren't that important, Jasmine. Everybody, don't forget, super chats are open. Live chat rooms open. Come on in, jump in, have a conversation. Now we're going to switch over. And we've seen some low tactics from the left. But this latest move is a whole new level of weaponization. This person has weaponized bureaucracy to a new level. A video is going viral of a liberal activist, let's call her what she is, Karen on a crusade, proudly bragging that she reported a Turning Point USA school event to Child Protective Services. Why? Not because there was an abuse, not because there was neglect, but simply because she did not like the conservative message being shared with the students. Think about the absolute malice required to trigger a CPS investigation over a political disagreement. CPS is a system designed to save children from actual physical danger, sexual abuse, and starvation. It is a system already stretched to its breaking point. And here we have a woman who is so triggered by the sight of a TPUSA banner that she is willing to divert life-saving resources away from vulnerable children just to harass her political enemies. It's not just caring. It's the weaponization of the state to punish parents and students for having the wrong ideas. This is the ultimate form of cancel culture, transformed into government-sanctioned harassment. By calling CPS, she isn't just trying to stop a meeting. She's trying to put families through a trauma of an investigation. She is trying to traumatize the parents and these kids and make them fear being a conservative. I don't hear anybody calling CPS on any of these Democratic clubs. We're not trying to traumatize their kids. But that is what they use. Fear. Threats. And she wants to see social workers at front doors and kids being interviewed by state agents, all because she thinks two genders presentation is harmful. Telling somebody that there's only male and female is harmful, that CPS has to get involved. It's a terrifying glimpse into the mindset that views the government as a private security firm for their own hurt feelings. Where does this end? If we allow people to start using child welfare systems as a tool for political suppression, no family is safe. We've seen them come for the school boards. We've seen them come for the curriculum. And now they're coming for your very right to raise your children without state interference. They're trying to create a world where safety means total ideological conformity. And if you step out of line, they call the authorities to question your fitness as a parent. How many stories are we hearing out of California? They're transitioning kids and not letting the parents know what's going on. They're hiding stuff from the parents. And if you don't agree, the state will threaten to take your kids away from you. Think about that. But we're, as conservatives, the authoritarianism. We are the fascists. We're not running around trying to take your kids from you. We're the ones saying for you to raise your kids. And this arrogance is staggering. This woman is smiling while she talks about it, as if she's done some great public service. She has no shame because she believes her moral superiority justifies any tactics, no matter how dirty or destructive. She is a perfect example of the radicalized left who views the state as a blunt instrument to be used against anyone who dares to hold a common sense view of the world. We need to make it clear, weaponizing CPS is a line that cannot be crossed. There should be consequences for filing false reports and using a protective agency for political retaliation. If we don't push back against this now, the Karens won't stop at schoolhouse doors. They'll be looking through your front windows next. And we're just getting started, folks. This is the anatomy of political warfare, and we're only peeling back the first layer. Don't go anywhere. We will be.
Come
listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
Hey, where do you go when you want real conversation and topics? That's right, you step to the edge. The Edge of Liberty is your home for talk radio the way it was meant to be. I'll be live every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network, and we're simulcast on KLRN Radio. We're building something different, Aaron. We just want you to be a part of it. I'll see you on the edge.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Reaver of Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe. I'm here to make sense out of the senseless right here on SHR Media, conservative media done right. Before we go any further, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share the stream like your freedom depends on it, because it just might. Every click helps us punch through big tech censorship, drown out media noise, and make sure common sense has a fighting chance. Oh, so I popped into chat real quick to take a look, and I just love when people jump in. He's lying. He's lying. What am I lying about? He's lying. They can never back up anything they fucking say, and it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. Whatever you want to call them. Bots, Democrat paid agitators, Democrats, liberals, just people being annoying. Hey, at least try to back up your rhetoric. That's all I ask. Try to back up. Tell me where I'm lying. Maybe I might answer you. I don't know. Normally I try to just ignore you, dumbasses. Let me guess. I'm going to get told I'm lying about this one. This one's going to be funny. If you ever needed proof that the intellectual leader of the modern left are operating at a third grade level, look no further than Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. AOC is currently being ruthlessly mocked across social media after a series of comments where she essentially suggested that the United States has no justification or business taking action against Maduro regime in Venezuela because it is below the equator. Now our politics are going to depend on whether it's above or below the equator. And if you don't believe me,
you know, we look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not a it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator.
equator. Let's hang on.
And engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And and by the way,
I don't know what's worse. I'm going to pop up chat because I want to ask a question. I want you guys to answer this question. What was more stupid? AOC's below the equator, or what was the Democrat who was worried about Guam flipping over if too many people went to one side of it? Which was more stupid? It just, what does the equator have to do with us? Hank Johnson, thank you. Hank Johnson said, or asked the question, he was worried about Guam flipping over. If too many people went to one side of the island, that the island would flip over. Yeah, I would agree with you, Jack Boozer, that Hank was more idiotic because thinking that an island would flip over, but basing our politics on the equator it's getting right there. Yeah, chat's starting to agree that Hank was number one. And this is the Democrat Party. This is the scary part about the Democrat Party. It's emotion, not facts. They claim they're the smartest people. But they're talking about we can't invade, or not invade, but we can't arrest someone who is illegally sitting in the presidential spot of a country when he lost the election and had warrants out that Biden increased the bounty on. Why put a warrant out and why put a bounty if we're not going to remove them and arrest them? They're just pissed because Trump went in there and within 30 minutes, 40 minutes, was in, out, done, had him and his wife in custody. No injuries to a U.S. or no casualty. There might have been a couple injuries. I think one special forces stubbed his toe as he jumped out on a rock. It was in and out. Almost a perfect mission. And instead of saying, you know what? We got the son of a bitch. He's arrested. The country can now have a fair election and instill a democratically elected leader. Because it's Trump, they got to complain. There is not a thing that could be done that would satisfy these Democrats that Trump could do. They will complain about everything. But apparently in the AOC version of international law, the equator acts as a magical, impenetrable force field. If it's in the southern hemisphere, it's outside the scope of American interest. Never mind the fact that Venezuela is actually located in the northern hemisphere. This is the woman the media holds up as a shining star of the Democrat Party. She's out here lecturing the public on foreign policy and the illegality, holy shit, that was illegality of capturing dictators. Yet she can't even read a basic map. What about assassinating leaders? The left had no problem with Hillary Clinton and Obama murdering a leader. Wasn't it Gaddafi in Syria? We killed a leader and not a fucking peep from the Democrats on that. But we arrest a leader and they throw a hissy fit. She has been an embarrassment over at this then. She has been shot down by so many other world leaders in discussions and embarrassed. She admitted outright she is a Marxist. She admitted it outright that she is a Marxist and she pushes Marxist ideology. And this is what the Democrat Party is hailing as their leader, as a shining star of the Democrat Party. And she's out here lecturing the public on foreign policies as a Marxist. Thought that was Russia. And then the Democrat Party just is happy with it. They're fine with it. They applaud it. But it isn't just about a lack of geographic knowledge. It's about a desperate attempt to find any excuse to protect a socialist regime. She is so committed to the anti-interventionist narrative that she is willing to invent new rules of planetary physics just to stay on message. She wants to claim that because it's down there, it's none of our business, while millions of Venezuelans are fleeing that very regime and showing up at our doorsteps. She's trying to use the equator as a shield for a tyrant. And she's looking absolutely ridiculous doing it. The mockery she's receiving is well earned. When you position yourself as a policy expert who knows better than the military and the intelligence community, you should probably know which hemisphere you're talking about. It shows a level of unseriousness that would be funny if these people weren't actually in charge of writing our laws. She is the face of a movement that prioritizes feelings and vibes over basic facts and geography. And another way that the Democrat Party does win, they tease, they outright lie. They're going to give all this free shit to the people. Nothing is free for number one. Someone is going to pay for it. We may be a rich country, but that doesn't mean we give away shit for free. We will be broke in a matter of years, if years. It's ridiculous, the ideology that we can give free healthcare, free food, free housing, free this, free that. They always preach that. And the only ones that ever get any advancement are those pushing these ideologies. The rest of the people wind up poor. Don't give me Switzerland and all these places in Europe. Why has it succeeded somewhat over there? Because the United States has protected Europe. We have taken our money, our military, and put a shield over Europe. They have not had to spend the money to protect themselves. That's why they're scared if we pull out of NATO and that we're forcing them to start paying their share, because now they have to start taking money out of the socialist program, the free health care, the free education, all that to pay for a military. They got to raise taxes to start defending themselves. These are the same people that bitch and degrade the United States as they sleep under the umbrella of our protection. It is disgusting. And the only reason any of this ever works is when you take from the poor. Because they're not going to take from the rich, because the rich will leave. France tried it. And I think it was like 75% tax on the rich. And guess what? They all booked it the fuck out of that country. And it failed miserably real quick. They had to do away with it. California is seeing it. They're threatening a wealth tax. Hasn't even passed. And you got these wealthy people that are booking it out of the state. New York, you got people booking it out of state simply because of Mandami. So who are they going to tax next? Because there's always going to be a 1%. And before you know it, that 1% is going to be you. And you're already you don't have money to spend, but the government's going to be taxing you harder. They're going to be bending you over and taking whatever they want when they can. Because once you vote socialism in, once you vote communism in, you can't vote your way out of it. Capitalism has problems. It is not a perfect system. I will not deny it. But it's the better option than dealing with socialism. And all that is people just want free shit. They're told they're going to get free shit. Oh, I get free. I'm going to get more money. I'm going to get more of this. They're going to raise the minimum wage. Understand, when they raise the minimum wage, now the person, let's take a fast food restaurant. You take the cooks that are making minimum wage. Now you bump their money up. Now the assistant manager needs a raise because he's not going to make the same as the cooks or close to it. Now the general manager needs a raise because he's not going to make as much as the assistants. Now the delivery person, he's not going to be delivering this shit. He wants a raise. And it keeps going where everybody gets a raise. And then what do they have to do? Raise the prices of everything, which we've seen at these fast food restaurants. And then guess what? The minimum wage is back where it was started, but now everything costs more in the country. It's not going to work raising the minimum wage because everything else goes up with it. And we're just in the same boat. And explain to me. I got into EMS as a firefighter, EMT firefighter. The most I ever made after 15 years was right around $14.50 an hour. I worked private. I worked hospitals. I didn't work government sector. I was able to buy a house, married, kid, bought a house, bought one within my means. Wife was working. We bought within our means. And I think I have a very nice house. My education for EMT, my service jacket was about a half inch, 3/4 inch thick of certification and classes I took. But yet, someone flipping burgers, which I did when I was 16. So I'm not degrading what it is. It's a beginner's job to teach you what the workforce is like. It is not a career or long-term job. But why should someone doing that make as much as someone that's saving lives? I didn't get into the field for money. I was told that from the beginning. If you want to be an EMT and you want to do this, you're not going to get rich. I know medics that were working 2-3 jobs to make ends meet in New Jersey. It is not meant as a career. And they hit that. And why they hit that is to get these people to think, oh, I'm going to get more money. I'm going to be able to spend more money. I'm going to be able to buy this. I'm going to be able to buy that. No, you're not, because everything else is going to go up. These green platforms. Look at New Jersey. I know that the government's trying to blame Trump, but this is a New Jersey problem. They've shut down energy plants. And now the cost of energy, I mean, I've heard of people paying $1,000 a month electric. And that's the part. And then people still vote for the same thing. And that's one thing I hate about watching. I don't mind people moving here to Florida, besides the fact we're losing the identity of Florida, the wildlife and all that. A lot of areas are getting overpopulated, but that's a different discussion. But these people that fleeing blue states because of high taxes, over regulations, all that. Then they come to these states because it's cheaper. There's no taxes. And then what do? They vote the same thing that destroyed the state they just came from and try to do away with what made that state great that they wanted to move there to begin with. And that is, I mean, I'll always be a Jersey boy. I always will be. But that state, I didn't know freedoms till I moved down here in Florida and realized just how restrictive New Jersey was. You can never get me to move back there, but, my heart will always be there. Oh, damn, time's flying tonight. And we're just getting started, and we got one more segment to go. This is the anatomy of modern political warfare, and we're only peeling back the first layer. We'll be right back in a minute or two, right after these brief messages. Stay tuned.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? And check out 7 Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with 7 Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com.
Hey, where do you go when you want real conversation and topics? That's right, you step to the edge. The Edge of Liberty is your home for talk radio the way it was meant to be. I'll be live every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network, and we're simulcast on KLRN Radio. We're building something different, Aaron. We just want you to be a part of it. I'll see you on the edge.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And welcome back to the Reaver Common Sense. I am your host, Jersey Joe, here to make sense out of the senseless right here on SHR Media, conservative media done right. Before we go any further, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share the stream like your freedom depends on it, because it just might. Every click helps us punch through big tech censorship, drown out the media noise, and make sure common sense has a fighting chance. Don't forget it, an hour after I go off, you will have Sackhead Sean on tonight right here at SHR Media, 11 o'clock on the East Coast. 9 o'clock on the West. Now, I popped into chat real quick, and I saw a comment, and I'm not going to disagree, but on Mark Hankins 3023 can't afford to return home state after working in Florida, no money. Now, I'm going to somewhat, for my personal experience, I'm going to disagree with you. because I made more as an EMT down here than I ever did in New Jersey by a very decent amount. And on top of it, what people forget, yes, somewhat the hourly rate is lower here. We have no state tax. All you pay is federal withholdings. Now, New Jersey, you're getting almost 40 to 50% of your paycheck taken from you. So if you're making $12 an hour, $6 an hour is going to the government. I'm paying, I think it's 23% to the federal government. So, yeah, you might be, quote unquote, being paid $12 an hour, but you're only bringing home $6. Well, I'm bringing home roughly $9 an hour. That's the part people don't look at. All right, Florida cost of living has gone up as everything else, but it's still way cheaper than New Jersey, way cheaper than California, way cheaper than New York. So I don't know what state you're from, so I cannot give you a good evaluation on your statement. There is some states that are cheaper, and there are states that are more expensive. I like not only the cost of living down here is lower than New Jersey, the weather, the wildlife. I now love fishing, and I have several saltwater fishing spots that I can go to very easy here. So I've been to New Jersey Shore, and boardwalk was fun when I was a late teenager, early 20s. It's not the same. Gray skies, cold, winter, ice. I don't have to deal with that anymore. So it comes down to the person. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to say I'm right. It's different for everybody. It's not a one-size-fits-all message. And if you really want to get out of here, you can find a way to do it. All right, now we're going to be AOC again. If you thought the below the equator geography lesson was a low point, AOC just decided to dig even deeper into the pit of radical delusion. In a recently resurfaced video that is making the rounds, AOC has finally admitted that many of us have known for years that the modern left view the very concept of whiteness as a manufactured tool. But she didn't stop at calling it a social construct. She went full tilt into the bizarre and claiming the reason it was created is, and I'm not making this up, literally satanic. This is the state of the intellectual leadership in the Democrat Party. We have a sitting member of Congress moving away from policy and moving into the realm of spiritual warfare against a demographic. According to her logic, the concept of white race was a deliberate invention designed to colonize and oppress, driven by the spirit that she described as demonic. It is a total abandonment of sociology, history, and reality, replaced by a radical theology of grievance. Think about the dangerous game she's playing here. When you start labeling a specific identity or a group of people of having satanic origins, you aren't looking for a conversation or a compromise. You are declaring them an existential spiritual enemy. It is the language of dehumanization wrapped in the packaging of progressive enlightenment. She is telling her followers that the very fabric of Western society isn't just flawed, it's inherently evil from a supernatural perspective. The narrative is a psychological weapon. By framing whiteness as a manufactured evil, she is providing a blank check for the dismantling of every institution that she associates with it. It's a way to invalidate. Sorry about that. It's a way to invalidate the history, the culture, and the very existence of a human segment of the American population by claiming their identity is a lie built on the devil. It is a tactic designed to keep the country divided, keeping people looking at their neighbors with suspicion, hatred, instead of looking at the politicians who are failing them. The irony is that while she claims whiteness was made up to divide people, she is using this very rhetoric to do exactly that. She is the one manufacturing a crisis of identity to keep her base in a state of high-octane moral outrage. It's a move straight out of the radical book. Identify a devil, blame it on every problem in the world, and then present yourself as the only one brave enough to cast it out. The American people are tired of being told that their skin color is a political statement or a spiritual failing. And then they're tired of being told that the foundation of their country are satanic by someone who can't find Venezuela on a map. AOC isn't interested in a unified America. She is interested in a crusade where she gets to define who is holy and who is demonic based on her own radical ideology. I just taking a look at chat real quick, see if there's going to jump subjects to a different segment. We're closing the show. Getting ready to. Yeah. What a look at real peace through strength looks like. While the left is busy calling our officer's name, President Trump is moving the heavy metal into position. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest and most advanced aircraft carrier, is officially being redeployed from the Caribbean to the Middle East. It's joining the USS Abraham Lincoln, creating a dual carrier strike group in Iran's backyard. This isn't just a routine rotation. It's a midnight hammer warning to Tehran. Rumors are that they know it's not going to be a one and done strike. It might take about a week of strikes to take out the leadership. And the president has given Iran a 1 month deadline to get serious about a real deal, not just a nuclear pinky promise, but one that stops their ballistic missiles and their regional chaos. He's been very clear. If a deal isn't reached, the outcome will be very traumatic for the regime. This isn't the week. Please don't do that to diplomacy we've seen, well, from two leaders. This is the make a choice or we'll make it for you ultimatum. And while Trump is moving carriers, he's also moving the Board of Peace into action, securing $5 billion from a regional allies to rebuild Gaza. He's showing the world that he could build with one hand, if necessary, dismantle the threats with the other. But look at the timing. Iran is currently facing massive internal pressure from its own people who are fed up with the repression and the economical collapse. Trump has already sent 6,000 Starlink terminals into the country to help the dissidents bypass the regime's internet blackout. He isn't just threatening the mullahs from the sea, he's undermining them from within. He's effectively telling the leadership in Tehran, your own people want you gone. And if I have two carrier groups sitting off your coast waiting for you to make a mistake, the left, of course, is already panicking, claiming this is warmongering. But remember, these are the same people who sat by while Iran's proxies set the region on fire. Trump's strategy is simple. Put the squeeze on the regime, support the people who actually want freedom, and make the cost of defiance so high that even the most radical cleric has to reconsider. It's a high-stake game, but for the first time in years, the United States is actually holding all the cards. And another regime that looks like it's getting ready to fall, Cuba. They've announced that they don't, not even to fly in because they don't have the fuel to fuel the planes up to get them out. So it looks like Cuba is going to be collapsing. There's a lot of happy people about that. Actually, I want to try to get this in. We are watching a terrifying escalation in the street, and it's happening right in front of our schools. In Aurora, Illinois, a massive walkout of 1,500 students turned into a battlefield where water bottles were hurled at police vehicle and an officer was hospitalized after being punched in the head. This isn't civil engagement or learning opportunity. It's calculated move to radicalize the youth and turn them into the frontline infantry for a political war against federal law enforcement. But there's a darkest part of the strategy. The left is now using children as human shields for their optics. They know exactly what they're doing. They are pushing these kids into the middle of an oncoming traffic and violent skirmishes with police because they are chasing a tragedy again. And they've done the math. They know that Karen screaming at a rally doesn't move the needle anymore. But if a child gets caught in the crossfire, if a kid gets shot or seriously injured during a confrontation they helped engineer, that is the ultimate prize for their propaganda machine. This is the human shield doctrine applied to domestic politics. By positioning minors between themselves and the consequences of their radicalism, these organizers are weaponizing innocence. They understand that the police officer hands are effectively tied when they're facing off a line of 16-year-olds, and they are exploiting that restraint. They aren't trying to win an argument. They are trying to provoke an image that they can use to burn down the entire system of law and order. Now, here in Florida, we had a bunch of kids that walked out and protest on the behest of Florida Teacher Union. And now those kids are getting suspended left, right, and center. They cut school. They're being caught, and Florida's holding them, and they're paying the consequences. The schools are stepping up. The government is stepping up. The teachers union is still supporting and justifying kids protesting on stuff that they really don't have an ideology or an idea of what's going on. But they're using the kids in hopes that someone's going to get hurt so they can go on camera, scream how mean is this administration that they hurt these kids. When you put those kids in that situation, you have kids that have been doing damage, attacking police officers. It's just a matter of time before one of these kids get hurt. And it's not going to be the police's fault. It's going to be the Democrats that have pushed this idea. All right, that's going to be the end of the show. And I want to thank everybody that's been in the chat, whether you agreed or disagreed. Thank you for being there. I want to thank all the moderators. Tonight wasn't about isolated sound bites or random outrage cycles. It was about escalation, from narcissistic claims that democracy hinged on one lawmaker's sleep schedule to activists weaponizing CPS against political opponents, to members of Congress rewriting geography and theology to fit ideology. Every segment exposed the same accelerating trend: power through chaos. When you stack it all together, the pattern becomes unmistakable. Bureaucracy got weaponized. Students get pushed into the street. Law enforcement gets slandered overseas. Media outlets ignore primary sources and then collapse under their own arrogance. Meanwhile, federal officers are told to unmask in hostile environments, and shutdown theatrics are used as leverage against national security. That is not coincidence. That is coordinated pressure. At the same time real governance is happening, carrier strike groups reposition. Enforcement operations continue. States like Florida restore discipline in classrooms. Officials push back against bad faith smear in congressional hearings. The contrast is stark. One side performs for camera, the other side executes policy. And here's the reality. This republic is not sustained by ego, outrage, or viral clips. It is sustained by order, accountability, and citizens who expect their institution to function without theatric sabotage. The louder the narrative warfare becomes, The clearer it is, the facts and consequences are beginning to land. That is why they escalate. And that is why we keep connecting the dots. That is why we do this show. Not to chase outrage, but to cut through it. Not to amplify hysteria, but to dismantle it. Because common sense still exists. It just needs a microphone. And as long as there are people willing to question the narrative, demand facts, and reject the manipulation, the republic isn't fragile. It's resilient. And if you want more from SHR Media, BZ's Bobcat Saloon every Tuesdays and Thursday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Edge of Liberty tonight, that's right, with Sackhead Sean, Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mission Ready Men with Big E Jackson, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the right coast. And, of course, you got me, Reaver Common Sense, with Jersey Joe. Monday and Fridays, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is where we'll leave it tonight. This is the Reaver Common Sense on SHR Media, conservative media done right, where the truth lives and the nonsense dies screaming. We'll see you next time.